Have you ever gone to bed feeling fine and woken up with a blood sugar reading that made no sense? You didn't eat anything overnight, you didn't have dessert, you went to bed early, you did everything right, and yet that number on your monitor in the morning is higher than it was when you went to sleep. If this has happened to you, I want you to know something important right now. You are not doing anything wrong, and you are not alone. This is one of the most confusing and frustrating things I hear from patients. Doctor, I'm sleeping. How is my blood sugar going up while I'm sleeping? It's a great question, and the answer surprises almost everyone the first time they hear it. Today, we're going to talk about what I call the evening sugar spike, what it is, why it happens, and why your dinner is more connected to your morning numbers than most people realize. And exactly what you can do starting tonight to change the pattern. No complicated meal plans, no extreme changes, just the truth about what's happening in your body after the sun goes down and 5 simple things you can do about it. Let's start with the biology. Because once you understand what's actually going on, everything else makes sense. Your body is never truly off. Even when you're sleeping, your brain is working, your heart is beating, your organs are doing their jobs, and all of that activity requires fuel. That fuel is glucose. Now here's the part most people don't know. Your liver, that large organ sitting on the right side of your abdomen, your liver stores glucose. It keeps a reserve of it, like a backup generator. And during the night when you're not eating, the liver starts releasing some of that stored glucose into your bloodstream to keep your brain and body fueled while you sleep. This is completely normal. It's called glucose output. Your body is designed to do this. But in people with insulin resistance, and that includes a very large number of people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, the liver sometimes releases too much glucose, or it releases it at the wrong time. And because insulin sensitivity is lower at night in many people, that extra glucose just sits in the bloodstream. It doesn't get absorbed efficiently, so you wake up with a higher reading than you went to bed with. This phenomenon even has a name. Doctors call it the dawn phenomenon. It typically happens in the early morning hours, between about 3 a.m. and 8 a.m., when your body releases a burst of hormones, cortisol, growth hormone, glucagon, that tell the liver to release more glucose to prepare you for waking up. Think of it like your body pressing the start button before your alarm goes off. It's trying to get you ready for the day. But in someone with diabetes or insulin resistance, that preparation overshoots. The result? High fasting glucose in the morning, even after a quiet night of sleep. Now here's what makes this really interesting. What you eat for dinner, and when you eat it, has a direct effect on how severe this overnight rise is. A heavy dinner, all of these make the overnight glucose rise worse. Because they raise your blood sugar in the evening, keep it elevated as you fall asleep, and give your already struggling insulin system even more to deal with during the night. On the other hand, a light, well-timed, balanced dinner creates a stable base. Your blood sugar goes to sleep calm, your liver doesn't have to work as hard, and your morning numbers reflect that. The dinner is the setup, the morning is the result. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret was 71 years old. She'd been living with type 2 diabetes for 9 years. Sharp woman, very organized. She kept a log of everything she ate, every reading she took. When she came to see me, she was baffled. Her daytime readings were reasonably well controlled. She was careful at lunch, she walked after dinner most evenings. But her fasting glucose every morning was almost always elevated, between 140 and 160, and it was driving her and her doctor crazy. I asked her to show me her food log for a typical week, and I noticed something immediately. Margaret ate dinner late, usually between 8 and 9 p.m., and her dinners, while not excessive, often included pasta, white rice, or bread. Sometimes a small glass of wine. And then she was in bed by 10:30. That meant her digestive system was still actively processing a carbohydrate-heavy meal when she fell asleep. Her blood sugar was still rising as she closed her eyes. And then the dawn phenomenon kicked in on top of an already elevated baseline. It was a double hit, every single night. We made 4 changes, just 4. We moved her dinner to 6:30 p.m. instead of 8:30 p.m. We replaced the white rice and pasta with vegetables and a small portion of lentils or beans. We added a 15-minute walk after dinner, not a long walk, just a gentle stroll around the block. And we introduced a small bedtime snack, a tablespoon of almond butter with a few slices of cucumber to stabilize her blood sugar through the night. 6 weeks later, her fasting glucose had dropped consistently into the 105 to 120 range. Still not perfect, but a meaningful, real improvement, and she felt it. She woke up with more energy, Her mind was clearer in the mornings. She told me I didn't realize I was sabotaging myself every night without knowing it. That's exactly it. Not sabotage out of carelessness. Sabotage out of information that no one had ever given her. Now let me give you that information. Here are 5 things you can do in the evening to reduce the overnight glucose spike and wake up with better numbers. The first one is the most impactful and it costs nothing. Eat dinner earlier. I know, this one is hard for a lot of people. Work, family, schedules, dinner at 6 p.m. isn't always realistic. But here's the science behind it. Your body's insulin sensitivity, meaning how well your cells respond to insulin, follows a daily rhythm. It is highest in the morning and gradually decreases through the day. By evening, your cells are less responsive to insulin than they were at breakfast. This means the same amount of carbohydrates that your body handled efficiently at 8 a.m. will cause a larger blood sugar spike at 8 p.m. Your metabolism is literally less efficient at night. That's not a flaw, it's biology. But it means timing matters enormously. Eating dinner before 7 p.m. gives your body 2 to 3 hours to process the meal before sleep. Blood sugar rises, peaks, and comes back down before you close your eyes. You go to bed on a downward slope, not an upward one. Even shifting dinner from 8:30 to 7 o'clock can make a measurable difference in your morning readings. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to move earlier. The second thing is to change what's on your plate at dinner. And I want to focus specifically on one swap that has the biggest impact: replacing fast carbohydrates with slow ones. Fast carbohydrates are foods that break down quickly and flood your bloodstream with glucose. White rice, white pasta, white bread, potatoes, and most refined grains fall into this category. Slow carbohydrates are foods that break down gradually. Lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, most non-starchy vegetables, and whole grains with intact fiber. Now, I'm not telling you to never eat rice again. That's not realistic and it's not necessary. But at dinner specifically, the meal that directly feeds into your overnight glucose levels, choosing slow carbohydrates instead of fast ones makes a significant difference. A simple swap: instead of white rice, try cauliflower rice. Instead of pasta, try a bowl of lentil soup. Instead of bread on the side, try roasted zucchini or broccoli. Your plate still looks full. Your stomach still feels satisfied, but the glucose curve your body experiences over the next 4 hours is dramatically different. The third thing is one that many of my patients have found surprisingly powerful: a short walk after dinner. Not a long walk, not exercise, just movement. 10 to 15 minutes of gentle walking after eating activates your muscles. And when your muscles are active, they absorb glucose from the bloodstream directly, without needing insulin to do it. Think about what that means. You're giving your body an extra pathway to clear glucose, a pathway that bypasses the insulin resistance problem entirely. Studies have consistently shown that a short walk after meals, even just 10 minutes, can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by 20 to 30% compared to sitting still. You don't need to go fast, you don't need special shoes, you don't even need to leave the house if the weather is bad. Walking slowly around your living room for 10 minutes has a real, measurable effect. This is probably the single easiest change on this list, and the results show up almost immediately. The fourth thing is something most people have never considered: a strategic bedtime snack. Now I know what you're thinking. Eat before bed? Isn't that the opposite of what I should be doing? Here's the nuance. Eating a large meal or a sweet snack before bed? Yes, that's a problem. That will absolutely raise your blood sugar overnight. But eating a very small, very specific snack, one that combines a small amount of protein with a small amount of healthy fat, can actually stabilize blood sugar through the night and reduce the severity of the dawn phenomenon. The reason is this: when you go to bed with your blood sugar slightly too low or dropping, your liver compensates by releasing extra stored glucose. That overcompensation is part of what drives morning highs. A small stabilizing snack before bed gives your liver a signal: things are fine, no need to release extra glucose. Stand down. What does this snack look like? Small. We're talking a tablespoon of peanut butter or almond butter, a small handful of walnuts, a hard-boiled egg, a few slices of cucumber with some cheese. The key is high protein or fat, very low sugar, and very small. It's not a meal, it's a signal. Not everyone needs this. Some people find it helps dramatically. Others see no difference. It's worth trying for 2 weeks and comparing your morning numbers. The fifth thing is about something that happens before you even sit down to dinner. It's about stress. When your body is under stress, whether that's emotional stress, physical tension, anxiety, or even just a hard day, it releases cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that tells the liver to release glucose into the bloodstream, because historically stress meant physical danger, and physical danger required energy. But today, most of our stress is not physical. We're not running from anything. We're sitting at a desk, or watching the news, or worried about something. And yet the cortisol response is the same. Glucose floods the bloodstream. And if you're already dealing with insulin resistance, that cortisol-driven glucose rise compounds everything. So what's the practical implication for your evening? A high-stress evening, an argument, bad news, an anxious hour before bed will raise your blood sugar even if you ate perfectly. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions, but it does mean that building a calming ritual into your evening is not just good for your mental health, it is directly good for your metabolic health. Even 10 minutes of quiet, slow breathing, sitting without screens, reading something gentle. These things lower cortisol, and lower cortisol means your liver releases less overnight glucose. The evening is not just about food, it's about the state your nervous system is in when you go to sleep. So let me bring this all together. Your body rises glucose overnight for a reason. The dawn phenomenon is real, the liver's nighttime activity is real, and insulin resistance makes both of these harder to manage. But you have more control over this than you probably thought. Eat dinner earlier. Choose slow carbohydrates over fast ones. Take a short walk after the meal. Consider a small stabilizing snack before bed if your numbers are consistently high in the morning. And give your nervous system a chance to calm down before you sleep. None of these are dramatic, none of them require a prescription, and none of them require you to give up food you love. They require small, consistent shifts. And those shifts, done night after night, add up to real, lasting changes in your metabolic health. Margaret made those shifts. And 6 weeks later, she told me something I hear more than almost anything else from patients who finally understand what's happening in their bodies. She said, I finally feel like I'm working with my body instead of fighting it. That's the goal, not perfection. Before I let you go, the same reminder I always give because it matters. If you are on medication for diabetes or blood pressure, please speak with your doctor before making significant changes to your evening routine or diet. When lifestyle improvements work, and they do work, your medication needs may change. That adjustment should happen under medical supervision. Use this information to start a conversation with your doctor. Bring your morning glucose log. Ask them to help you track the changes. They want to see you improve. Let them help you do it safely. Now I have one small request. Think of someone in your life who wakes up every morning confused and frustrated by their blood sugar numbers, someone who feels like they're doing their best but not getting results. Send them this video. You don't need to say anything, just share it. Because the information we covered today might be exactly what they've been missing. And if you want to keep going because there's so much more to understand about how your body manages glucose throughout the day, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Next week, we're going to talk about something that affects blood sugar in a way almost no one talks about. The connection between poor sleep and glucose control. How sleeping badly raises blood sugar directly, and what you can do about it even if you've struggled with sleep for years. It connects everything we've talked about today. You won't want to miss it. I'm Dr. Sterling. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you next week.